Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Raffy Marty, so nice to meet you.
Likewise.
It was a pleasure. Absolute
Pleasure's
pleasure.
mine. I was trying to think of the Italian saying for it, but it doesn't come to me.
Arrivederci,
Yeah.
benvenuto, that's fine.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille. Yeah.
You just have to say it with the Italian pronunciation, right? Like,
Gotta
grazie
use your fingers.
mille.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a million thanks. Yes, actually 1,000 thanks. Yeah.
Yep.
So tell me about the difference from being from Switzerland and moving here to Austin, or moving to us. We're in Orlando now. Big shift for you?
Well, I did it by way of San Francisco or the Silicon Valley, right? So that helped a little bit. But it's been 22 years at this point. Right? So I moved after college. I did an internship first, and that's kind of in '99 during this like the crazy internet boom in the Silicon Valley. I was like, I gotta be here, right? Studying computer science at the time, I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. And so it was pretty easy, and I like the freedom, and the people are less risk averse. Right? Like people take risk, and you're incentivized, or people encourage you to try things even if you fail. And in Switzerland, it's still kind of like, yeah, but what just happened?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I have friends from the UK, and they always tell me the difference. What's about the biggest difference between the UK and here is like, here if somebody does well, everybody's like, well, I'm going to be like that person, But but kind of in the UK, it's like if somebody does well, it's like, I'm going to get that guy,
That's
I'm
right.
going to.
No,
it's a
right.
switch. I don't know why that is.
No, there's this, even in Switzerland, there's like this behind your back kind of like chatter, right? It's like if your front yard is not super nicely groomed and clean and everything, people are like, what's wrong with them? Can't they, like,
it's very interesting.
Like they can't afford it?
That happens here too, though, in some communities, I would imagine. I've never seen it, but
I do it to my neighbors. I'm like, can you please take care of that dead tree there? It's really bothering me. I still got to be a little Swiss.
Of course. Why do you like security so much? What attracts you to it?
I studied cryptography, and it was, I like math, and it was very math heavy. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to spend my day job doing math. It's not who I am. There needs to be something else. But then in the applied cryptography, where like SSH, how does it encrypt things, right? How does it make it secure? Finally, it's like, well, the other side, how do you break these things, right? And in crypto, you have crypto analysis and all these kinds of things. By the way, for IT Nation Secure, the challenge going, there's a little bit of analysis you have to do on those ciphers.
Yes.
But then I learned, or I looked at how do you hack into systems, right? And how do you circumvent these preventative capabilities, and got into, well, that's interesting. You have to understand operating system, networking, applications, all these different things. And whenever IT grows, security grows, right? And so it doesn't stand still. It's always something new, always something more to learn. And I think that just kept me on my toes. And it's just interesting.
I mean, just IT is security. I mean, it's not separate. At one point, I believe it was separate, but now it's just
it's built in now. It has to be.
It has to be, right?
Yep.
And so, what's like going to school for cryptography? That must be really interesting.
I mean, gosh, I studied 25 years ago, right? And at the time, I keep saying, computer science was this big, and you learned all of it. I mean, I learned how to design digital circuits. You learn how to store floating point numbers on a computer efficiently, right? IEEE 742 or whatever the standard is, right?
I remember that, yeah.
And security was this sliver. We didn't even have a course, and we had a guest lecturer come in. I contacted him like, "You need a teaching assistant?" "That's me." I was like, "Sure." So first time, I have no clue what I was getting into. I was just like, I know this stuff. Today, IT is like this, and security is almost like this as well. And so there's so much, you can't keep track of all the things anymore. And it's constantly changing, right? It's insane.
What keeps you up at night about security? What troubles you?
I'm a great sleeper. My wife hates me for that. Like literally 2 minutes in, I'm done.
But what troubles you about?
We can't win.
Yeah, really.
Because I'm quoting Marty Roche, is the author of Snort, if that means something to anyone. But he did this presentation that just stuck with me. And he showed a stat where he's like, look, here's how much money the bad guys make. And here is how much money the cybersecurity vendors make. And the bad guys was way bigger than the vendors. Even if they were the same size, there's so much money that can be made on the dark side. It's a very simple equation, right? Like economically, it just makes sense that this exists.
Interesting.
As soon as that doesn't exist anymore, if you can't make that much money with it, it will change. But as long as there is this big market, no matter what, it will exist. And the other thing in security, we say, there's no target you cannot compromise. There's not 100% security.
Wow.
There's only not enough time or not enough resources. If you have unlimited resources and time, you can get into anything, right? And generally, it's actually not, you don't need unlimited. You just need maybe a little bit of time, a little bit of resources. And I mean, look, this has been the Cold War and all these different things where they played the long game. They still are, right? They're infiltrating. The US, we're infiltrating all kinds of other things for the long game. We're planting things. We tactically deploy them and use them when we need them. But that's the game, right? And that's what keeps me up at night, is that can be like, what do we do to at least, maybe we can't get ahead of it, but at least be good enough to keep things at bay where possible.
Yeah, I never thought about it. You can't win. That's very interesting. Kind of like being a goalkeeper in soccer. I know you're not, but they can't win.
No, exactly. No, but it's exactly the same thing, right? Of course you can defend and you can train and get better.
Right.
The goal is so big and the man can only go one side, right? Like,
it's very, very interesting. And the analogy about the bad guys making a lot of money. I know one firm that contacted me a couple years ago that their whole business model is working with the bad actors and ransomware attacks to get your negotiation down.
Yeah, they're ransomware negotiators.
It's an industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they've given up, and a lot of times it's like
you generally, if you get in an incident response scenario, right? Like you get hacked, you have ransomware. We actually have a service where we come in as ConnectWise, we help you with incident response. Sometimes in the middle of it, we will look at potentially negotiating ransomware as well, depending on the setup, right? Sometimes we actually have decryption keys, right? They exist sometimes, but sometimes it makes sense that you start negotiating because you want to get out of this pickle. And if it's, there's all kinds of conversation in terms of ethically, should you, right? The government has certain guidelines at some point, and you can be driving a hard line saying we never negotiate or we never pay ransom. But sometimes It's like, yeah, but I have this business and I'd rather pay I don't know, $100,000 than being down for 2 weeks. It's a really, really hard conversation to have.
Amazing. What's your message to MSPs at this event? We're here at ConnectWise Secure IT Nation.
We have lots going on. We're constantly innovating things. We're releasing new product. Someone said yesterday, I asked them some kind of question, and they said, it's really about commitment. And that kind of resonated with me. I think, as an MSP, commit to doing security. And I think that it's important. And no matter what level you're at, even if you don't really know what security is about, and there's a lot out there, a lot of MSPs that don't know much about security at all, and that's okay. We're actually here to help, right? We have a whole partner program where we work with MSPs to help build and grow security practices. Use us, work with us. We have resources available. We get you into these programs, right? But commit to helping make yourself secure to start with, because if you get compromised, nobody's going to be happy, right? And then let us help you make your customers secure. And there's all kinds of things that come with that, but I think it's that commitment. And on the other side, I'm kind of asking MSP to do something, right? But there's a return too, because security can be a really good business, right? Not to forget that.
It can be a great business, and it's necessary. I don't know what the numbers are, but I would think small to medium businesses, when they think IT, they're just thinking about security, primarily thinking about security.
I mean, you have to base IT components as well, right?
Yes.
You need to have an email system and whatnot, but yes, security comes very quickly. And it's just, even if it as an MSP, you're like, look, we can't offer security services, too thinly stretched, no experience. Figure out how to get security services to your customers. They need something, right? And it's because of the bad guys, and they're going to be a target. And we launched a report, the Vance and Born report, we call, where we survey SMBs, and we've done this a number of years now, so we have a very nice history of it. And one of the questions is, have you been compromised in the past? I think over 90% say yes.
Wow.
That is crazy. SMBs, right? And then about the same percentage say they are worried about being compromised within next year or something like that. So that shows the awareness is there. They need something to be protected. So even if as the MSP, you can't necessarily offer all the services, well, what if you partner with someone else? It could be a vendor like us, where we might be able to cover some of the areas of a security service. We can't cover everything, right? But parts we can. And maybe you partner with another MSP where you get some synergies going or something. I think that's just the way people have to start thinking about it.
They certainly do. And what are the roles of the vendors in an event like this?
Hey, we have a huge exhibit hall here. We have dozens and dozens of vendors exhibiting their MSP solutions in security. It's important as an MSP to A, have choice, and B, to have the different capabilities that you need to protect the customers of yours and the different IT systems and environments that they have, right? We have a great set of tools we offer that cover a lot of different things, but it doesn't cover all of everything that you might need. So it's very important to have an ecosystem like this here, where together we can help secure the whole industry, right? And it's often for people, depending on who's gonna dial into this, right? People think MSP, oh yeah, okay, this is like the provider for IT for the restaurants and whatever, right? And okay, the POS goes down or the internet goes down at the restaurant. What's the big deal, right? That might be right, but guess what? There's a lot of MSPs that are catering to companies that are in the critical infrastructure and the critical business, and even like regional banks. What happens if the bank is down, right? Like, oh my goodness. So MSPs are carrying a lot of weight of this whole industry or the whole economy.
Yeah. You think it's hard to be an MSP these days? Or TSP is?
I would say so. There's so much to keep up with, right? I mean, think about your personal life with regards to all the just phone apps. What are the apps you're using?
I know.
And then someone is like, oh my God, you should really use ChatGPT. And you're like, whatever. And then finally you're like, why did I not jump on this thing earlier, right? And that's just your personal sliver of, I don't know, whether it's health apps or productivity apps or fun, whatever. Now you go into an industry and that has all these different things that are constantly changing, right? Nothing is the same anymore as it was 10 years ago. Oh, some things are. Actually, maybe too many things still are, but tangent. So now you have to keep up with all of that and make sure you can still provide service and then secure everything, and you still have to be profitable, right? So there's a lot of different forces that come together to have an MSP emerge that's running well, again, is profitable, has a good client base, it stays with them, and so on. So it's not an easy fare.
What are some of your goals, Raffy, for this event like this?
For us, it's the best thing about this is we're bringing all these MSPs to us, right? So the hallway conversations, the conversations between MSPs too, but also us and MSP, learning what's going on for them and helping them understand what's the bigger scope, right? For this is a great opportunity for people to learn and see what's happening. And I keep encouraging everybody, no matter what conference, generally you have peers at these conferences and learn from them. Like there's nothing better than, there's gonna be an MSP here that's like you. Talk to them. You're probably not competing. Even if you are, put that aside. When you're back home, you can compete again. But here, just learn, share, and grow, right?
How's AI? Is it going to help? Is it going to hurt? What's your concern about AI?
What's AI?
Security.
Like, I back in the day we called it statistics, and a lot of data today it's AI and big data, right? I've dabbled quite a lot in the AI space over the years. I ran a research group where we had AI researchers and psychologists and counterintelligence people.
Wow.
Where we looked at how do we find spies for like large enterprises and stuff, like spooky stuff. And I want to say I was a little disillusioned on what you could actually do. And so I always kind of poo-pooed AI. Now, what has happened in the last probably 2 to 3 years now, right, with the whole generative AI, LLMs and so on, I have to say it's different. And I'm using different forms of AI in probably every day, be that just interacting with ChatGPT or Copilot, or running a newsletter through a local LLM or something to summarize it to be quicker at certain productivity things, right? I have friends that are productivity hackers that are recording everything on their computer. This is something that Microsoft also just launched, where everything you do is recorded.
Mouse movements,
everything you type in, everything you, like all the calls and everything. And I have friends that have been doing this for quite a while. There are other applications out there to do this. They love it.
Wow.
They're like, you have no idea. You go back, you can query the data, you can go back to a meeting, you know exactly what was being said and what the action items were. You find stuff very quickly. Oh, this presentation or this email, haven't I written this before? And they swear by it. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still a little freaked out by the privacy of everything like that. But it's coming, and you gotta jump on the bandwagon, otherwise you're gonna be left behind. And especially, look at the MSP space. We have in our platform, we have RPA, we have Sidekick. These are two capabilities. One is for hyper automation or for automation, and the other one is real AI intelligence in the platform. And these things are creating incredible savings for the productivity, right? And also bringing out novel insights. And when is this going to be aired?
This week, probably the end of this week.
Okay. So we have this challenge coin, right? And well, there's numbers on here, ones and zeros. You take a picture, ChatGPT, what's the binary code on here? It spit out the code. I'm like, okay, translate this to letters. Poof. It's right there. These things are so incredible.
Yes.
And you figure out your new workflows and things. Like people are now, they have ChatGPT open on their phone, on the microphone on. They work, they talk, and kind of say what they're doing, and ask for maybe, I'm writing this email. Here's what I'm saying, and then ChatGPT gives recommendations on what else to say, or statistics. If it's a sales email, right? It's like, here's a statistic that matches it. The workflows are going to evolve. These things are going to be everywhere. It's going to be scary.
Yes.
We're going to revolt for a while, and then we're going to get over it and live in a new world.
We really are. Jason McGee's keynote is this evening. I'm going to assume there's going to be a decent amount of AI covered.
I think last year we had the AI introduced.
Yes.
Jason.
Connect.
I don't think AI is going to introduce him today.
I say there's going to be some discussion, though, no?
I think we'll definitely talk about what's happening, sort of MSP security, right? There's a lot is really about this. How do you make sense of all this different stuff, right? It kind of plays into the AI where it's like, well, how do you know where to do what, right? It's just, as we talked about, it's growing, it's getting more complex. How do you deal with that complexity? And how do you stay ahead of some of the things that are happening, and the threat, the bad guys are not stopping to innovate, right? As I said, like they realize that the things they're doing currently, at some point we will plug those holes. So they're constantly looking for the new avenues they can go and figure out where to hack into the systems in a different way.
It's going to be good. It's an exciting time.
It is, and
I
mean, security is not. It's not going to go away. Right?
No.
We're going to have a job for a while.
Yeah. What's something that someone would be surprised about you, that you don't know about you?
Personally or connect-wise?
Personally.
I'll give you two things,
Okay.
and one I'm not going to elaborate. The other one I am. My spirit animal is an owl.
Huh.
A very specific one. Her name is Uma. I think this is the first time I'm publicly actually telling people that. Funny that I work for a company with a logo of an owl. The other one is I used to coach a national sports team back when I was a little younger, still in Switzerland. I was in the national team for a while myself, and then ended up coaching the team for a little bit.
And what sport?
Target shooting, crossbow and air rifle.
Crossbow
and air rifle.
And air rifle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Highly precise. You hit on 10 meters, you hit the tip of a needle every single time.
Wow. And your heartbeat plays a role in this, right?
Yeah, so imagine like when it looks funny what I'm doing, if you can see me. But this is actually how you stand there. You're sort of looking perpendicular to the target. And if you're nervous, right, you have your heartbeat up in your chest.
Yes.
If you can try to move that down into your belly so that the heart is not beating up here that hard, right? So you want to calm yourself down. Because if you have it up here, you will notice that, and we used to train with lasers where they would record the movements. And you can actually see the heartbeat on the laser like showing up. And so if you trigger in the wrong moment and you have the heartbeat up here, it's going to be somewhere different than you expect it to be.
Amazing. How'd you get into that?
Very random. I mean, I was 12. I remember downtown in my little hometown, they had the newspaper hung out, and every Saturday we walked by there, and my dad like skimmed the headlines quickly, and I, faith, right? There was a little article, I started reading, I'm like, they have some crossbow thing here for kids. And I told my dad, we got to look this up when we were at home, and I was like, I want to see it, and he called, signed me up, and that was it.
Nice meeting you.
Very nice to meet you too. It was fun.
Have a great show.
Thank you very much. You as well.
Be well. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.